Hey, welcome to the Old Guys blog. We're looking for a new name. My family suggested four guys and a Bible. Kind of there's, four guys and a moving truck, that kind of thing. We love to hear problems, issues, difficulties you're facing that we could honestly address. So there's the Bible right there. You can send us information and questions off of after you've watched this, and please choose to subscribe. Well, today we're going to talk about facing difficulties in life and more personal difficulties. Two of us in particular are facing cancer battles, and we're going to get to hear a little bit about that. And in part, it's going to be real time with both of these men. And we're going to start with Bill because just recently he got a cancer diagnosis. And he said last time we were talking before we recorded just some profound things that I think everyone would benefit no matter what the challenge you're facing from. So with that set up, be profound, Bill.
I'll try, Paul. That puts a lot of pressure on, Anyway, I'd say the challenge was I found out I have tonsillar cancer in my throat. For a guy like me, I preached my first sermon 56 years ago. So to have somebody tell me I've got cancer in my throat is not a happy thought. And I've had the thought several times that when I preached 2 weeks ago, that may be the last sermon I'm ever going to preach. But whatever God sends, right? We accept it. We have to know he has his best always in mind for us. But the hardest thing for me in the first phase was just deciding to tell people about it. I didn't want to be seen as someone who is weak or someone who is sickly, or, I didn't want to be the cancer guy. And I just decided, what, if I really believe that God is going to heal me, and I do, then for people to be able to celebrate that victory, they also have to know about the challenge and the struggle. And so I just decided, in my case, I'd put it out on my Facebook page that, friends and people who follow me on Facebook could keep up that way. I mean, there are other things like Caring Bridge and other things I've seen, but sometimes for me, they're complicated and they take too much time just to get into the story. And then eventually they want money from you. So I just decided I'm just going to put it out on my Facebook page. It's free for everyone. Anybody that wants to follow can do it there. And I was going to just tell them the highlights of what I'm going through. So I've actually minimized other things I might have posted. And I'm really trying to give, I've posted 2 times now about where I am in this cancer journey. So that's the first thing, is just get over your pride. That's what it was for me. It was just my pride.
Reactions to that, guys. One of the things I often tell people if I'm meeting with them is if you tell one other person an issue out loud, it loses about half its power. It creates fear and power over us. But John and Steve, any reaction to what Bill said?
No, I mean, what would be interesting for us to know, I mean, I know, but I think it would be good for people to know, is like, how has the response been, Bill? And how has it influenced you?
Well, so far I've had over 1,200 people tell me they're praying for me.
Wow.
And I know last Sunday in kind of my adopted country of Estonia, almost every significant church prayed for me in the morning service, which was very humbling for me, but also just felt like such a great fruit of 26 years of ministry there.
When you end up with a diagnosis like this, I think that it's real easy to think that it's a very personal and private thing. But you realize the response that you've had, those people are going to be going on this journey with you. They love you. You have served faithfully and well. You have taught people. You have come alongside them. And I think that having you make it public was important for these other people, and besides yourself. But I know that the number of people that you have deeply impacted, they would feel sad not to be included.
Now, our family verse was always Jeremiah 33:3. Call unto me, and I will answer thee, and show thee great and mighty things which thou knowest not. And so several of my relatives reminded me of that even. Go ahead, Paul.
Oh, no, that's perfect. I just was going to say, before we have you share the other insight chat, I want to go to John, because John has been in a cancer battle, and much like you, he was very public with it. Could you just talk about your cancer situation, what we're praying for you, and how you've put that out to people?
Well, I mean, it all happened almost 1.5 years ago now, in October, 1.5 years ago, or soon.
Yeah.
And so I was taken to the emergency room in the hospital, where I actually had 3 times my heart stopped while being there. But at the same time, what came across there was that I had pancreas cancer, stage 4, inoperable, untreatable. And so that's what my daughter and I, she joined me with the conversation with the doctor. And they said, well, we'll give you painkillers and stuff like that. That was a little bit the response of the medical field. But as I was waking up in the emergency room in the morning, I felt that God said, your time is not up. And you have to pray. He said, I felt very clearly, you have to pray for an extension of your life. He never told me you have to pray for, total healing. You have to pray for an extension according to Hezekiah, as he prayed. Mm-hmm. And so my prayer was, I didn't feel God said, you will live another 15 years, but you have to pray for an extension of your life in the same spirit. And so that's what I actually told my wife and the children. And then I also went out on Facebook, because I felt like I would really appreciate the prayer for that. Yeah. There was no treatment offered, but I did get into treatment with. We felt like it's very important that my immune system will become stronger. So we'll be focusing on that with supplements and other things that are provided for, or that I buy in Germany, because I'm part of my son-in-law has a clinic in Germany, in Berlin, where I go for research and for tests, and he subscribes things for me. Mm. The fact that people are praying. I mean, and this is, I think, because I felt like I'm not done. God has more for me to do, and I'm not finished. It's not that I don't want to be finished. I was open. It's like, okay, I can leave this earth, but I felt like, and there's something to be done, and that has shown itself actually, that God opened different doors after my diagnosis. Amen.
And how long were you given by the doctors at that point?
Oh yeah, I was given 3 to 6 months. So that
was 1.5 years ago.
Right. And so I'm happy with the almost already extra year I've gotten. Yeah. And I'm not planning to sit down and wait. We go on planning for what God has.
Bill, tell us what you said last week about what you asked us to pray for you.
One thing first is, I don't think the Bible says anything. It doesn't use the word cancer in the Bible or anything, but it does talk about a sickness unto death, that God allows. And I think what John prays is what I pray, and I prayed for others. And I don't pray somehow just they be healed. I pray that God would extend their life, that God would add years to their life. And the first woman I ever did that for, she lived another 20 years. After we prayed for her with her cancer in that prayer. So I think it's a good prayer to pray over these things. But I was speaking at a Cedar Home church in Stanwood, Washington, about an hour north of my house. And I've preached there a lot. I preached there for almost a year when I first moved here. And at the end of the sermon, I had told them the sermon was about joy, and about joy even in difficult circumstance. And I told them, I honestly can tell you, I have joy. I'm concerned. Obviously, I'm not an idiot, but I have joy in my heart that nothing can take away. And a woman came up to me at the end of the service. She waited till almost all the people were gone, and she came up to me. She said, you don't know me, but I've heard you preach many times, and I am an oncology infusion nurse. And she had the straightest face. I mean, absolutely no emotion on her face. And she said, you can be light. And I said, thank you. I really do want to be salt and light. She said, no, you're going into a place that for a lot of people is a very, very dark place. And I see it every day. And you can be light. And I felt like I was getting a word from the Lord. I mean, I just felt like, okay, so my focus then is not going to be on my cancer or trying to get rid of my cancer. But my goal is going to be light. I've got my mandate now. And so I went in for my first appointment a week ago, and I got to know John, who welcomed me. And then I got to talk to Gabe, who's been there for 18 years and did my IV. And then I got to talk to Colleen, who was the woman who did my CT scan, and find out a little bit about him and just try to bring some light to that place. And I'm going to try to keep doing that. I ask my friends to pray for me that I will bring light, because I believe what that nurse said. And I think, John, you've seen it too, that cancer can be a very dark place for a lot of people.
Steve, you got any thoughts as you're hearing John talk?
Well, I just am reflecting on both of them, and they have joy. And, when John was talking about things, he was kind of laughing a little bit about it. Most people don't laugh in the face of cancer. Bill, you were doing the same thing. And, joy isn't dependent upon life circumstances. It is a choice, and it's in fellowship with the Holy Spirit at such a level that you can experience things in a different way than other people would. There certainly are things that could be frightening about what you're facing. If I were going through that, I would be wondering, well, what are the next steps? And what is this going to be like? But I would, since I became a Christian, I have really longed for that last breath, not in a morbid way, but everything that I read in the Bible made it so clear that heaven is so vastly superior. Mm-hmm. But the joy that both of you are demonstrating, and I know it's legit. And then for your desire, Bill, to minister to other people who are either going through it themselves or are serving those who have cancer. I'm just proud to be your friends.
Romans 5:3 says we can rejoice. We can have joy, too, when we run into problems and trials, for we know they help us develop endurance. So the Bible tells us that we can have joy in those times.
It's interesting that both of you, you're trying to battle being self-focused so you can be God and other focused. John, talk about some of the ministry opportunities you've had while you've been in this cancer battle.
Well, I mean, I had already contact in Ukraine. I've been to Ukraine quite many times, but after my diagnosis, the need intensified for support for like a church plant where I was a mentor, and that means that I go there. I've been there twice a year, even in this season of my life, and I hope to go there soon again. But also, I'm regularly preaching about almost every second week. I'm preaching as their pastor is involved as a chaplain in the war situation and has to go to the front lines quite often. So then, I mean, for example, the next 2 Sundays I will be preaching, and then I feel like I'm really part of the church there, which is really great that I have that opportunity. Also, I really felt like to try to leave a little bit of a legacy by starting a discipleship and leadership training that I do every week. And so I planned that in the autumn for until May to begin with. And we'll see how we continue after that. But I needed to have a start and a finish to be able to work towards something. But I'm already thinking like, okay, God, what next? And of course, I'm fundraising for different projects and stuff like that for the Ukraine, especially.
Bill, tell about the quilt blanket that you received and how that's helped you.
When I left that church, Cedar Home Church, they gave me this quilt. They have a quilting group of older women in the church mostly, and they gave me this as a gift when I left that, when their pastor came from New Richmond, Wisconsin. By the way, you Wisconsin guys, and so I have this on my bed, and I sleep under this every night because several of those people have committed to me that they're praying for me every day. And when I sleep with this at night, I really feel like I'm surrounded by the prayers of God's people for me. And it's a comfort to me to know that I have those prayers. And I just kind of feel like I'm surrounded by it even as I sleep. So it's funny, I've had more dreams about preaching. I don't think I've ever dreamed about preaching, but I've had dreams about myself preaching at night in the last couple of weeks, which is kind of weird. So, but yeah, it's a good reminder.
Where your heart is.
Yeah.
So if you think about this, you might be going through a health issue, you might be going through relational issues, you might be discouraged, or even experiencing some mental health issues. In all those, for any one of us, we can decide we're going to tell other people. That's going to help. That we're going to have a focus on other people, not just on ourselves, and that we're going to seek to be light, that we're going to use whatever God's given us to shine forth as light. And then just the importance of inviting people in to pray for us. Guys, as you're hearing this, what are some other thoughts that you would give as advice to people that are facing some kind of challenge or hard time?
Well, could I throw a question in?
Yeah.
In Philippians 4, it says, be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, put your request before God. It's one of the first Bible verses I remembered or memorized, and I memorized it in the Living Bible. So it says, don't worry about anything, pray about everything, ask God for what you want, and don't forget to thank him, something like that. I was just wondering, is anxiety in all forms a bad thing? I'm wondering how might people who are listening to us right now and are facing whatever the issue would be, and they have anxiety, what counsel might you have?
I think you got to figure out where it's coming from. I think I've known people who needed a serotonin uptake inhibitor to get over their anxiety. They need it's something in their brain chemistry is off. And I think it's awfully hard. You can't, in my experience, really pray your way out of that. Sometimes you need that, but other times I think it's just I see more people with anxiety now than I've ever seen in my life. And I'm not sure why, if it's just the world around us somehow, or if it's changes in our diet. I'm listening to our new our Robert Kennedy's in his new job says it's American food is messing us up and stuff. I mean, I'm not sure where it comes from, but I do see it as a ongoing battle. I don't know anyone who has anxiety that seems to just get over it. It's almost more like they have to just learn to accept it and live with it. What would you say? What would the others say?
John, any thoughts on that topic?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about this, like, praying, casting all of our burdens and anxiety on Him. And one of the things that I have, and this is maybe very, very selfish in one way. When I've prayed for that, and I know others are praying, I personally don't pray for it anymore. I rest in that. Also about my sickness, I told God I've done it, and He told me to share it. I did that. People say, I'm going to pray for you. I'm not going to focus then anymore to repeat my prayer. I have to rest in that because I don't, it just doesn't work for me. But it's like what Bill says. I mean, I also have quite some people around me that are overcome by anxiety, and it is like you say, Bill. It's to be able to deal with that isn't really that easy, and it's not like it's not a quick solution for anything. But I do also think it has to do with the fact that and this is one of the problems. Why was there a pride in your heart to not share it, for example? We are so individualistic and we privatize everything. And I think by sharing, we are discovering a little bit of how it's meant to be in regards to fellowship and belonging and sharing burdens and carrying one another. And I think if people experience that, they might be able to let go a little bit easier of some of it. But it's like you said, I think it's part of the makeup of our society also that releases and triggers it.
Have you preached on it, Paul, or do you get a lot of people? Minnesota people don't ever get anxious, do they?
Oh, we're a very anxious state, but I think there are three aspects of anxiety. One is internal clinical anxiety, and if you see a bear, you're going to either your adrenaline's going to shoot, and you're going to want to fight or flee, and it's a gift from God, but we just have it where that happens way too much. And what happens in those times is we turn off our frontal lobe and we just operate out of our brainstem as a reptile. There's social anxiety. That's anxiety in relationship with people. And then these little devices have created anxiety that Jonathan Haidt has documented are representing a lot of anxiety for high school students and particularly high school women. And I think at another time we'll take time to talk about these aspects of anxiety. But one of the things you can see for both John and Bill, they're both going, I'm not gonna get so absorbed in myself that I just sort of keep cycling around in worry, but I'm going to aim to have a focus on God and a focus on other people. And when you do that, it actually uses the energy that sometimes anxiety gives you in a productive way.
Hey, maybe that's why Jesus called us to be like salt and light and stuff, to get our focus off ourselves.
Exactly. Hey, I think we better wrap it for today. Just as you're going, just pray, God, make me salt and light. And if you're facing a difficulty, the advice these guys are giving you is, pray about the issue, but actually get other people praying about it, and pray more about how God can use whatever this issue is for His glory. Well, thanks for listening to us, and we'll be back next week with another talk on whatever's on our mind.
God willing.
And God willing, take care, and thanks for listening. Bye.
God bless you. Bye.